And we're just going to start right on time. And of course, we'll do a brief introduction for both of you guys. And it's so great to see you that you're also joining us today. It's wonderful. Yeah, so I'll do a little bit of the warm up actually. So by then, right, well, both Suzanne and Hillary, you guys can get started right then. So I'm gonna just switch to Chinese so that for the slides that have translation, then of course everybody can take a look. But with the ones that don't have the translation, I'll just briefly jump in and do a quick summary. Yeah, great. So 大家好，欢迎大家来到咱们今天的 BSS 顶私讲座我是安妮。那么咱们现在就可以开始。然后呢，对于咱们，因为这个是一个全英文的 presentation， 那么我会在适宜的这个时候呢，帮大家做一下简短的这个 summary， 然后以及稍微的翻译一下咱们的重点。那么想要看到实时字幕的家长朋友，还有咱们的学生呢，就可以把咱们屏幕下方的这个 CC 点开一下，这样的话呢，就可以自动识别实时的字幕。那么英文的也好，还是中文也好，它都会产生这个实时的字幕，所以大家可以在下面点一下这个 CC， 然后有任何的问题呢，欢迎留言在咱们的这个 chat box。然后之后呢，咱们会有一个20到25分钟左右的 Q&A， 就是线上的这个实时答疑的环节。然后大家有任何感兴趣的问题呢，欢迎这个把咱们的问题打到这个 chat box 里面然后我们最后会有一个 take up。好的，那么我就简单的先来介绍一下我自己包括我们这个凯特教育学院我们的一些主营业务然后很快呢我们就会把这个 mic 交给这个 Suzanne 还有 Hillary， 然后咱们就可以正式开始今天的讲座。那么我们凯特教育学院呢，其实主营业务分为2个方面。一个是语言类的，就是我们有一些标化考试的这个培训SAT、SCT 等等，然后包括还有 AP 带学分的学习以及考试培训。同样呢，还有另外一块就是英语能力的提升所以大家可以从任何的端口来进入，然后可以找到适合自己的这个学习的方向。那么作为一个整体的这个软硬实力的一个提升，对于不管是之后想要升学呀，还是有一些其他的面试或者是参加比赛等等，都会有一些非常好的这种提升和帮助。那么我们另外一块主营业务呢，其实就是升学规划服务，这也是我们今天最主要 focus 在的一块。那么我们呢是非常专业的，在本科前顶私申请转校方面或者孩子有升学上的一些需求都可以了，随时来咨询咱们的业务。然后包括呢加本的申请、美本的申请，这些都是我们目前做的非常好、很专业的一块。那么在我们过去和家长朋友们还有学生们非常这个近距离的交流，以及我们自己亲身的体验呢，就感觉到这个升学呢是一个很漫长的，但是同时也是一个非常好的学习的机会、成长的机会。所以我们也有自己的 slogan， 就是 The point is not getting in, but to succeed in the long run 所以有了这样非常坚定的这种底子基础，那么以后不管是做什么事情都会事半功倍会有一个非常好的结果。OK， 然后咱们就还是一样新加入的家长朋友们可以把下面的 CC 点开，然后呢有任何的问题呢，欢迎大家随时在 chat box 里面留言。咱们最后20到25分钟呢会有一个线上答疑的环节然后希望大家踊跃的参与。那么咱们今天讲座的大纲呢，我也给大家稍微的 briefing 一下，那么之后我就会把这个 mic 交给 Suzanne 还有 Hillary。 那么我们首先呢今天的大纲呢是会介绍一下 BSS 的特色，从官方的角度，然后同时呢咱们简述一下招生流程，每一个环节是怎么样子然后这个全程的咱们的 webinar 今天是会录制的，所以呢没有办法来到现场的家长朋友们也不用担心，咱们之后会把这个上传到我们官方的 YouTube 账号，那么欢迎大家去这个交流分享，然后可以去这个反复的回看，就不会 miss 掉任何重要的信息然后后续如果有任何升学方面的问题，大家希望再进一步的去讨论呢，也欢迎大家来咨询咱们 Kate 老师，然后关注咱们各方面的账号，这样呢任何的这些 updates 大家都可以实时的收到。 好的，现在我就简单介绍一下咱们今天的特邀嘉宾 Suzanne 是现任的 BSS 招生主管，然后有超过16年的一线教学经验包括是招生的经验。然后今天非常有幸能够邀请到他和咱们一块儿，然后包括呢这个Hillary 也是我们 enrollment 和这个 communications 的主负责人，所以今天能够这个邀请到他们俩来做一个这个 co-host 包括来做咱们的 co-presenter， 实际上是非常非常幸运的。所以这个我们现在就转换一下。All right, so Suzanne and Hillary, I've just done a little bit of the introduction, and it's such an honor to have you both here. So over to you guys, and you can just take turns and get started. And if there's any questions, me and Kate will keep an eye on it, and that'll be great. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Annie. I really appreciate the introduction. As Annie pointed out, I'm Hillary Adamson. I'm the Executive Director of Enrollment and Communications, and I just wanted to thank you for joining us today to learn a little bit more about the Bishop Strawn School, or as we refer to ourselves as BSS. We're an inclusive girls' school, rich in tradition, and we're really known for being leaders in STEAM-focused learning, the arts, and our work in diversity, equity, and inclusion, and for being a school that offers both a rigorous academic program and a rich co-curricular program, which we feel really balances out a student's educational journey, whether she starts in JK, grade 7, grade 9, or even higher. We really believe that there is a balance there that's necessary to have a really positive experience. So many of you are just starting out to research schools for your child, and we know you want to choose a school that is a good fit for not only your student, but for your family. And we really at BSS think about our whole school as a community made up of our parents, past parents, our alumni, and our students, and of course, our faculty and staff. We consider ourselves an expert in girls' education, and we've been doing it since 1867. So over 155 years of history of learning about girls and knowing how their brains work, how their bodies work, and how they socialize and how they learn. And it's always been our mission since then to inspire girls to be fearless and educate them to be leaders. And that is our mission. In the junior and middle years, so junior for us is JK to grade 6, and then our middle years program is 7 and 8, and then that flows nicely into senior school for 9 to 12. Our curriculum in the junior and middle years is inspired by the Reggio Emilia approach, which came out of Italy and is an inquiry-based learning approach. And we use that approach in our curriculum and everything we do. So we see our students as individuals who are curious about the world around them, that they bring their voice and their experiences to the table, and that they're encouraged to ask questions. And as they do that, we push their thinking and build a strong foundation in math, science, literacy, the humanities, and the arts. And what our teachers strive to do is teach the children how to think, not just what to think. So that's a shift for some people to really, it's not just about being told what to know and then regurgitate it out. It's really about knowing how to think and think deeply, so students can work collaboratively with each other and with their teachers. And they're offered this enriched curriculum in all subjects within a very beautiful and inspiring learning environment. I don't know if I want to stop there and you translate, or if we're going to jump back and forth. Otherwise, I'll head into senior school.
Sure, I'll just jump in real quick and do a brief summary of what Hillary just presented to us. 这个咱们在刚才的这几页 slides 里面呢，包括是咱们的这个图片当中呢，也是了解到 BSS 其实是现今整个加拿大在女校这个方面是非常非常顶尖的，绝对的领头羊。这个资历包括历史其实是最悠久的。然后我就只想是把刚才 Hillary 这个强调过的这个 how to think 如何去思考，如何培养自己的一套这个思维的结构模式，这一个方面呢 BSS 是有绝对的权威以及资历在的，然后学以致用在学习的过程当中不断的去成长，然后 inquiry based project based 就是在学习并且是在体验当中不断的去成长，这一点是BSS 的特色之一。 All right, Hillary?
Great. In the senior school, which is where many of our students join us in grade 9 or boarding starting in grade 9 and 10, our boarding program starts in grade 8. Our program offers more than 100 credit courses in business, science, technology, the humanities, and the visual and media arts. Our students are encouraged, again, to ask questions and answer them through inquiry and exploration. And teachers offer meaningful assignments that really tackle real world problems. So inspiring them to think and look around them and see how what they've learned can be applied to the real world. And that's done through case studies and different group projects, and they really work together, but also individually to do this. And many of our grade 11 and 12 students take advanced placement or AP courses. And I heard that at the beginning, you had talked a little bit about that. And so many parents know that is, they've done their research, but just to clarify, these are really rigorous and challenging courses that are taught at a university level in high school. So our students take them to enrich their applications to universities, and so that they can be competitive, but many students just take them because they're so passionate about learning and really challenging themselves and being prepared for that next level when they go off to post-secondary education. So we also offer the AP Capstone Diploma, which is extremely challenging 2-year program that develops student skills in research, analysis, writing, and presenting. And you can see on the screen, you take the 2 courses over the 2 years, and then to get the capstone diploma, you have to take 4 other courses out of the choices there and receive I think it's I can't read it because it's so small on my screen, a 4 or higher on the exams, or maybe it's a 3 or higher. So many of our students do that, and it is challenging. The teachers work with them on their independent study where they are putting together a thesis. And we really see it as you know, a very challenging program. So when families are looking at IB schools and an AP program in the senior school, we feel like this really stands up and prepares them well for that. And the one thing we love about it is that it is flexible in so that students who are preparing for maybe a health sciences program or thinking about medical studies down the road can really focus in at the AP level on those sciences, so chemistry, physics, biology, and maybe taking AP calculus as well, but they don't have to take AP English unless they really want to. And somebody thinking about a career in law might take world issues and maybe macro and microeconomics and maybe English so they can practice their writing. So it's really flexible at where those students, so we have students who take no APs, we have students who take 1 or 2, and we have students who take 6 or 7. It just depends on the student. At the core of our curriculum and embedded into everything we do is the signature of a BSS girl, and you can read more about this on our website. It really focuses on 7 personal attributes, and they're on your screen: curiosity, self-awareness, grit, voice, leadership, and growth mindset, and ethical citizenship. And we believe it's what makes us really special, because we value those qualities in students and feel like even from JK, they can start to work on these attributes, and they really prepare them for life outside of school, but being, you know, a good friend, a good colleague later in life, you know, to make good choices and make good decisions, and to really become empathetic, respectful, kind, and most importantly, happy individuals. We are, do you want me to stop there before I go one more?
Sure, yeah. So I'll actually backtrack a little to the AP part, and just to emphasize a little bit more about the AP diploma part. Okay. 所以我现在呢，就是把刚才咱们这个，尤其是 AP Capstone Diploma 的这个含金量啊，我再稍微的强调一下。这个在 BSS 整个教学的体系当中，问问题，尤其是这个问题是如何在现实当中可以被解决，并且通过案例分析啊、小组讨论呐，能够让每一位学生获得这种独立思考和成长的机会，这是一点。那么他们在 BSS 提供的这些 AP 课程呢，一个是肯定像我们大部分家长都已经了解到的，它是大学预科的难度，并且呢，在统考之后，就可以就是根据这个分数，然后呢，在大学换取相应的学分。每个大学的 policy 呢会稍微有一些不一样。那么在这个2年的 Capstone Diploma 这个学习的过程当中呢，学生们会非常大程度的提升自己做 research 的能力信息整合的能力 present 的能力，就是在各方面都会有很大的成长。然后同时呢，这个 AP Diploma 这个方面以及统考的成绩实际上是全球认证的，所以呢，这个是可以完全的展现出自己就每一个孩子的这个学术的统治力。那么在升学方面，尤其是在成绩单上展示出来是非常有说服力的。然后我们刚才看见了这个 BSS 学生女孩的这个特质是什么，所以这个就是做国际公民，然后呢有自己的好奇心，有自己这个领导力，所以咱们在这是一个全人的发展。对 ，All right, so I'm done. Hillary, over to you.
Okay, great. Well, that leads us into the slide that we'll show you next is about our graduates. And this slide represents our last year's grads of 2022. We're currently compiling all the data on our grad class of 2023. But we're always so proud of our graduates. They go on to attend top schools worldwide. Obviously, if you look at this, you'll see that the majority of them go to Canadian or American universities. Usually it's about 25% of our grad class attends US schools. These are just the ones they chose. We have a long list of schools, and some schools decide to post them all. We're just highlighting here the ones that they chose, but our students get into 6 or 7 schools each and then have that hard decision about where to go. And for some, they get into schools across the world and then decide because of financial commitments or geography, they would like to stay and do their undergrad in Canada. And we're so lucky to have amazing universities here. And I think the important thing that we focus on at BSS is not just the name of the school that they're going to, but it's really the program. So sometimes parents and students will have an idea of where they want to go, but their interests actually pull them to a different a program that may be offered at a school that they've never even thought of. And our guidance counselors are so well versed in all the US and Canadian and UK schools that they can really sit with those students and help them choose the schools that offer the programs that are going to serve them best. And so, as I said, sometimes students know what they want to do. They want to go into medicine, so they know health sciences is where they're going. And others at 16 and 17 years old, which is okay, don't know that yet. And so, they're still finding their pathway and they may change their mind a few times. And, some of the US schools, it's great because you don't have to declare your major until second year. So they can kind of take at a liberal arts college, many courses that will help guide that decision. And we're not pushing anybody to make those decisions really quickly, but really just focus on their strengths and where their next steps lead them. So in the summer, we'll be updating our list and all the programs that our current grads are going to. So you can check our website there or on Instagram. If you look under BSS Grads 2023, the students run their own site and they're posting as they make their decisions. And the one thing I'll say about that site is I love reading how kind everybody is to each other about those decisions. They post it every couple of nights. We'll see more come up, and it's just those comments. They're so excited for each other. It's a really warm community. The grad class knows each other so well, and you can just see and feel how happy and proud they are for each other in these big decisions. I don't know if I'm going to pass it to Suzanne now, who's going to talk about our co-curricular program and how important that piece is at our school. And then we'll walk you through the process of applying and all the things you need to know. If you want to, Annie, jump in at this point, you can.
All right, yeah, sure. I'll just jump in once more before we pass it to Suzanne. Yeah, 我就简单的咱们在这个 slides 的基础之上呢，给大家稍微再这个说一下刚才 Hillary 这个话当中的重点。咱们这个2022年的这是一部分的节选有这个咱们加拿大本地的大学，然后有美国的大学 UK 的，然后包括澳洲的大学。但是这个只是其中当中一部分的节选。那么在今年夏天呢，很快，因为我们现在今年的升学季实际上已经 结束了，所以在接下来的1-2个月呢，学校就会发出咱们2023年这个毕业生们大概去的这个学校的方向，大家感兴趣的可以关注一下。那么我想要这个讲的实际上是刚才 Hillary 有透露出说 BSS 其实内部本身的学校的资源，尤其是在这个counseling 这一部分实际上是非常强的，就是帮助学生们寻找自己的兴趣，甚至是重新发现自我我们对什么感兴趣，我们想要在什么方向去学习，那么学校呢就会有一些非常 rich 的 resources可以让这个学生们就很好的去 benefit， 而且整个的这个 community 里面是非常温暖，大家彼此都互相熟识，是一个很好的一个成长陪伴的氛围。All right, I'm done.
All right. So now you've heard about the strength of our academic program. So I get to speak to the kind of breadth of our co-curricular program. And of course, this is another piece and another reason why a lot of families choose independent schools, because of this range of co-curriculars and opportunities that we offer. And it's another great way, and Hillary spoke to the signature of a BSS girl and those character traits that we really develop, or those attributes that we really develop. And this is another way of doing so. So it's both inside the class and outside of the class that students are developing these skills. Now, I'm not going to speak to every single sports team that we have. We have, about 70 different teams across from junior to senior, or I'm not going to list all of the plays and performances that we do and the arts exhibitions that we do in the arts. But I will highlight a few things. We, again, have a lot of different clubs, academic teams, affinity group spaces, but even with student-led clubs, if we have a club or if we don't have a club that your child is really interested in, there's opportunities for each student to even lead and propose a new club and lead that club. So it's not just about bringing in students to do something they like to do. That's part of it, but there's also a lot of opportunities, leadership opportunities, through even proposing different clubs, starting different initiatives at the school as well. Another thing I want to highlight on this slide is our global learning program and outdoor education, because this is something that's been really growing over the past few years. And our global learning program really connects our curriculum and co-curricular programs into the world beyond, which is really important these days. And so this also includes our global experiences, and we have a number of different international trips and national. We even do trips across to different areas of Canada as well. But even just as examples, next year, there is a performing arts focused trip to New York City. There is a kind of science and conservation trip to the Galapagos Islands. There is a health science focused trip to Belize. We have a cultural experience trip to Spain, I believe. So there's lots of different experiences, and these trips change every year as well. Sometimes they run it more than once. There's a lot of ways to explore the world and go beyond. We talk about going beyond the classroom, but it's even going beyond the school and the community too. And our outdoor education program really supports, many of you have maybe heard of the Duke of Edinburgh program, and that is Duke of Ed program. And that's actually a piece where students develop develop new skills, physical activity, outdoor education as well. And there's a number of different opportunities to explore the outdoors, nature, and gaining these skills. It's quite an intense program, and a lot of students apply to achieve there's different levels of it's not different levels of I'm just trying to think of the word. It's not a status, but you can receive a gold or bronze, gold, bronze, silver, and gold pin when you achieve certain number of hours and activities and such. And then, of course, community service is also a lot of volunteer opportunities. We have a whole council of students that propose different opportunities for students. And leadership as well. I touched base on that as well, but it's not just through student-led clubs. We also have councils, head of councils. You can be mentors to peers or mentors to younger age groups as well. but the leadership opportunities are plentiful. And I know there's often question about parent engagement too, and we have a number of ways that parents can help and volunteer, and looking at, a parent's own strengths and where they see the best fit. And that could be planning an event for the community, or it could be volunteering in our school store, or it could be through being a parent buddy for a new family. So there's a lot of ways that parents can become engaged in the school. And there's a few photos as well. We have a translation for this slide. All right. So I will now touch base on some more photos. Our admissions entry grades and the admissions process. So our entry grades for junior school, it's junior kindergarten, grade 1 and grade 6. For middle and senior school, it's grade 7 and grade 9. And then for boarding, we take in students from grade 8 through to grade 11. If you're interested in a non-entry year, so any grade that's not listed, so it could be a grade 5 or a grade 10 or something, I would recommend to touch base with us in the fall, and we may have a better sense of whether or not we will be accepting applications and taking students through the process. Sometimes if we know, we have a heads up about families relocating or that, sometimes we'll say, we know we'll take a few students into grade 4, for example. Therefore, we'll be taking in applications, taking everyone through the process. So always connect with us, and then we'll let you know if we'll encourage you to apply and take you through the process. Or if it's a year where we know we're not going to take any students in, then we'll say, hey, wait for the next entry year. So reach out to us, and we're always happy to answer those questions. Annie, I don't know if you want to translate that before I go into the actual process, or if I should just continue to speak to the actual application process.
Right, maybe just a quick word that I'll say about the last slide. 咱们这个 slide 上面展现的就是BSS 在每一个阶段的这个主要的招生年。大招年，然后呢，这个刚才Suzanne 有提到说，如果是5年级也好啊，或者说可能是在上面没有列出来的，那么就在秋天的时候，或者是开学的这个前后，那么跟这个招生团队取得联系，然后呢，到时候会有一个更详细的评估，然后来看是不是今年可以接收新的学生，还是说我们等到下一个学年这样。
Excellent, great, thank you. And so for the application process, there's a few different steps. So in September, we open up our application and the deadline through our website, and the deadline to complete this is December 1st. There is an early bird deadline of November 1st, and you get a small reduction in the application fee. But the application there's some questions for parents, some questions for students, and you submit that, and that's considered complete. And then we ask you to upload report cards. So these are final report card, two years of academic report cards. So usually it's the final report. So if you're in a school in Ontario, it would be your June report card for the past 2 years, and then upload any that you receive for your current year. So if you're in the public system, for example, you would receive a November progress report and a February progress or report card. Upload those when you get those. And then we will also ask for you to come in for a tour, of course, and have an interview with one of the members of our student recruiting team. And I know this is a big question of like, what should we say at the interview, or how do we prepare for the interview? And the best advice that we have is just be yourself. We don't want anyone to come in too prepped and memorizing anything. It's just be you. We just want to get to know who your child is. We'll ask them questions about what their interests are, what they're passionate about, their school life and such. And so we just want to get to know who they are. And then we also look at an assessment, because we are an academic school. So that's another piece as well. And we do look for, or we do ask students to complete a math and writing assessment. This is our own assessment. We will ask everyone, we do in-person assessments. There's usually a Saturday in December and a Saturday in January. So you can choose which one is most convenient for your family. And the math is usually about 40 minutes. The writing is about 50 minutes, give or take. And really the math is based on the grade level prior that curriculum. So it's not, we don't want you to study necessarily. We just want your foundation knowledge. It's not necessarily a test you have to get perfect on. We know we're also testing your children in the middle of the year. So we know that you haven't covered the full curriculum. We just want to see where you're at. And the test is really, it's not a multiple choice. It's more like the math is really calculations and such. And we want you to show your work. There might be some problem solving. And then with the writing, often we give students something to read, and there's a prompt, a writing prompt. So there's a little bit of an essay style. So we do that and we take that back, and then we look at the application as a whole. So it's not like everyone has to, we don't set target scores on assessments. We don't, in the interview, we don't say they have to say this, this, and this. We look at the whole picture. And then also when we're taking in students, we're looking at our whole class as well. We want a diverse group of students. So we want students who have a wide range of different interests. We want students who are coming from different areas of the city. We want students who are coming from public schools and private schools. We want introverts and extroverts. So we really want kind of this blend of students. And so it's not like we just take one specific type of student. We don't want that. We want a variety of students in each class. So that's what we look for when we're doing our decision meetings. And this is just the time frame of the kind of in a different perspective of just kind of the time. When you schedule your interviews, we really start interviews from mid-October and we go throughout to end of January. So that's our interview time frame. And then in that, you're going to be completing an assessment as well. And then our decisions are sent to families, I think it's February 23rd next year of 2024. 23rd, 24th.
23.
End of February. Annie, I don't know if you want to.
Great. Yeah, so I was just actually maybe if we go back to the previous slide. Yeah, perfect. So I just talk a little bit about that part. 我就简单的帮大家总结一下，归纳一下咱们刚才这个 Suzanne 提到的一些事。然后这个 application 的话呢，是在每年的这个9月份，实际上就可以在学校官方的这个 portal 网站上面开始申请。然后呢，截止日11月1是 early bird， 就是早鸟，可以在这个期间这个直接把申请递上去，或者是它这个 regular 的 deadline 是12月1号。然后之后就是上传学校官方所需要的 report card 的成绩，过去2年的，然后包括新的学年收到的任何新的这个 progress report card 也可以一起上传。然后在 tour 和 interview 这一块，实际上Suzanne 刚才有提到的一点，就是学生们一定要展现真实的自我过度的这个去就是准备也好，或者是用力过猛的话，实际上是很容易被这个资深的经验丰富的这些招生官们能够察觉到，所以他们实际上就是想真实的了解孩子的多样多面性，然后之后呢会在他们接受 interview 的过程当中呢会完成校内的考试，那么数学的部分英语的部分，那么数学实际上大概40分钟左右，这个是他们现在这个年龄，就包括他们之前的这个 grade 是大概是这一个难度，因为目前他们这个学期还在上，所以不会有特别多超纲的问题。然后英语的话呢，根据他们的年级有的是 writing prompt， 他会给一个引子，然后呢让大家写一个像 essay 一样这个 format 的这个文章。然后总体下来的话呢，其实很重要的一点，这个咱们家长朋友们也很关心的一点呢，就是这个学校它在 判定或者说他在 evaluate 咱们的申请人的时候呢，实际上永远都是非常全面的去看，而不是说这一项如何那一项如何，也不会说最后给咱们学生在某一项上打分啊，因为最后以学校的角度来讲的话，他要保证班级里面学生的多样性，大家来自各种各样不同的文化背景、成长环境，然后都有各自的这个 contribution 有各自的一些闪光点，所以这些呢，对于咱们可能在某一些单项上面有所犹疑或者不确定的家长朋友们，实际上可以放宽心，它是完全是一个全面的、综合的，并且是一个公平的每个人都是一样的这样的衡量标准。All right, Susan.
Great, excellent. And I think the last slide, oops, I don't know, Hillary, do you want to add anything about financial assistance?
Yeah, I'll just briefly talk about how our school is committed to, prevent letting the tuition be a barrier to somebody attending BSS. And we do know that an independent school is a big investment for many families. It can seem overwhelming at first when you look on our tuition page, but we do have financial assistance available. And I will say that for some families, that means their need is small. It could be $2,500 or $5,000, just would help make the difference up. And for some, they might require almost full assistance, which would cover all of the tuition. Our financial assistance process is separate from our application process. So if your family would like to apply for financial assistance, we use a third-party provider called Apple Financial Services, and the website's on the bottom, but if you Google it, it'll come up, and there is an application for you to fill out. For families, it takes some time. So I want to say to start this process early. All of the applications must be in by January 6th to Apple Financial. They do a full analysis of your application that determines the financial need, and they will make a recommendation to BSS on what that number is. For some families, it might come back that they have assessed you and it says you don't need any financial assistance, and for others, they will give a number. It's really important to note that we call ourselves financial assistance needs blind, and that just means that all of our application and admission decisions are made separate from our financial assistance decisions. Our CFO will work with Apple and determine what we can offer. And then when Suzanne and I and our admission decision committee makes our admission decisions, if somebody is going to receive an offer of admission and they qualified for some assistance, that will be communicated together on offer day, but those decisions are separate. So hopefully I'm making that clear. Mumbled a bit at the beginning, but so yes, you have to fill out the Apple Financial separately, and then you will wait and get that decision on offer day. I think that's all I have to say about Apple Financial and I will add that we have $2.2 million available in financial assistance. So we are very appreciative of our donors that come from alumni, parents, people who love the school and want to give back and make this an opportunity available to many, many more students.
And then the next piece is just questions.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, thank you so much for this informative, and it's so wonderful to hear from you both. And 如果咱们的家长朋友们有任何的问题的话呢，咱们可以在这个 chat box 里面打出来，不管是在这个升学的或者是申请的任何一个阶段，如果您有这个 specific 任何特定的问题，或者是如果您有感兴趣的问题，那么现在实际上是一个非常好的机会，咱们可以在这个 chat box 里头给它打出来，然后我们会现场的跟这个 Suzanne 还有 Hillary 有一个互动我们之前实际上得到了一些这个问题，所以呢，其实现在我觉得也是一个很好的机会然后可能在这个方面以前有过一些疑问的家长朋友们，也可以通过这个机会得到自己想要的答案All right, so Suzanne and Hillary, we actually do have collected more than a couple of questions from our parents who have consulted with us before. And I think this is going to be a wonderful, wonderful opportunity to ask that out and then hear from you both so that we could transmit it directly to our parents as well. So One of the very first questions, and it's kind of one of the newer ones that we get, is like we know that most parents or students, when they apply, maybe they were kind of taking a look from the range from grade 6 or all the way to grade 9, to senior school, middle school. But what should kids that are much younger, for example, grade 2 or grade 3, when they're doing the applications, and is there still going to be kind of like an interview sessions, like what they need to do, or what are the BSS admissions looking for in that particular area, especially for younger kids? And just allow me for a second to we'll kind of translate what kind of questions I'm asking to our parents. All right. 所以我刚才问了一个问题，就是咱们低龄的小朋友啊，这个2年级也好，3年级也好啊，我们申请的时候呢，需要注意一些什么？那么 BSS 在招生的时候，可能这个他们的这些侧重的考量的点呢，又会是什么？All right, so either if you could take up the question, then that'll be really appreciated.
I'll take this one just because I used to do a lot of junior school interviews. And Suzanne, maybe you could flip back to that slide that has our entry years, because I think that could be helpful. So in the junior school, we have 3 main entry grades. So JK, grade 1, grade 6. Obviously in JK, it is a little bit different. So these are 3-year-olds when they're applying, but we still do a process. So our JK students come in, hopefully have a little tour, get to know us a little bit, and then have an interview with their parents. So the student will just feel comfortable. We have some books and toys in the room, and we don't expect them to just sit and perform. We will talk to the parents until they feel comfortable, and we'll try to listen to their language. We'll try to talk to them. We'll try to but really what the interview is for those JKs is getting them used to the school, getting them used to us, and because we're going to bring them back again for an assessment, which would take place on a Saturday morning. And at that point, we do expect the student to separate from their parents. So the parents go into the library, and the JK students or the JK applicants go into our JK classroom and our SK classroom, and our teachers are there with us that day. We've set up different inquiry stations, and they just get to play. It's a play date where the teachers will be observing them, watching their how they follow instructions, how they play, how they do some writing. We'll have snack. We make it fun, and that's the important part. And then it's probably our most difficult decisions, our JKs, because it is very different way to assess students. In grade 1 and 6, we do a similar to grade 7 and 9, where they'll come in for their assessment, and we do a little bit of math, and we do a little bit of writing and a little bit of reading for grade 1. And then grade 6, it's more formal. They do a math assessment and a writing piece. Grades 2, 3, and 4 are not entry years for us. So this year, we actually didn't even take people who applied through the process, because we knew we weren't going to have any spots in those non-entry grades. Historically, we used to have grade 3 as an entry year, but since COVID, we added grade 1 as our entry year. So we have now phased out that we really only have spaces if one of our families doesn't re-enroll or leaves the school. But the interview is also important in those grades to let your child be themselves. Suzanne talked a lot about this, and I can only reiterate that, I don't even want to say it, but when the worst thing you can do for your child is to over prepare them, because what happens is they get really nervous and they come in and they're trying to do their best and trying to perform the way they've been sort of coached maybe. And that really does them a disservice, because we don't get to know them. And because they're nervous, they start to kind of have a little freak out sometimes because they can't remember what they were supposed to say. And we just want them to not be nervous. We want them to come in and have a chat with us. It's a really casual, comfortable conversation. And of course, they'll be a little bit nervous, but I feel over preparing, especially, up to grade 9, 10, 11 even, just let them be themselves and, give them that confidence to share themselves.
Awesome.
I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Awesome. So I'll do a brief translation for our parents here. 咱们低龄小朋友，你像这个 Junior School，它是3个 level，它是这个大招年。JK 的话，实际上就是适应学校的氛围，然后呢会有很多的这个娱乐方面的这些活动，就是让大家放松下来然后呢能够让咱们非常有经验的招生老师有一个比较全面的观察，那么就可以这个是 JK 方面的一些考量。然后呢1年级、6年级这2个这个大招年呢，实际上就会有简单的一些数学的测试包括是语言的一些测试实际上还是可能问答性质的会稍微比较多一点。那么最重要的也是 Hillary 刚才反复强调的，包括 Suzanne 之前也提到的，就是让孩子们展现真实的自己和自己真实的性格，就不要过度的拘谨，或者是这个可能有太多的一些前期的这种考量，可能会复杂化他们自己本身的思维，那么在表现当中就会产生各种各样不自然的地方这些呢其实是比较减分的这个是咱们刚才2位大招官所提到的，所以展现真实的自己这一点实际上是最重要的。All right, I've actually seen that there are a couple of questions. There's one question that asks for grade 7 applications, is SSAT required?
Nope, we don't require the SSAT.
OK 这个我们就得到回答了。然后还有另外一位家长there's another one that asks, what is the main test of the interview with parents? So the interview with parents, they're interested in, well, what kind of questions, or is there anything that they should kind of take care of?
No, they can think of some questions to ask us, and we include that in the application actually, like what are your questions for us? And really the conversation with the parents is often conversation, and it just adds, usually we when we first have our time with a student, and then we bring in the parents to join us. So it's not like a separate interview. We want to talk with the parents, even with their student there, and it's really just to, again, just to see what their values are as a family, just to see what they're looking for in a school, if they have any concerns and worries, and maybe we can alleviate some of those concerns and worries, or if they're trying to find, is this the right place? And we just have the conversation, and they may have questions that they that they didn't find out through the open house, and maybe some things they're still wondering about and stuff. So it's a lot of answering their questions, talking about what they're looking for in a school for their child as well. So yeah.
Great. 所以在这个咱们家长和学校的这个直接的交流当中呢，实际上校方是鼓励家长们可以询问任何他们感兴趣的问题，比如说对于咱们学校的这个教学体系或者教学特色或者说有没有任何其他的问题是咱们家长朋友们感兴趣的。那么在学校方面，他们对于家长的这个包括学生这个背景各方面，就是成长的环境等等，他们的考量实际上就是想得知这个家长的教育观咱们是以什么样的方式想要如何去培养自己的孩子。那么在这些其实上也可以看到家长和学生他们共有的这些价值观是否与学校相匹配。Right. Okay, we have a couple of questions coming in. What percentage in senior school is boarding? Okay, and what is the most important 3 qualities that you're looking for in the candidates?
So percentage of boarding. So we have a smaller boarding program. So our whole school from JK to grade 12 is about 950 students, and 70 students are boarders, and that's from grade 8 to 12. So it is a small percentage, but it's a really close-knit community. And so we really value that. And so the students they really find their family away from family here. So so we really truly value our boarding students. And then top 3, we certainly don't necessarily set a top 3. We don't say, oh, they need to have this. One thing that I think that they, I think all of the students who do come here, just, they enjoy learning, they enjoy school. Like if someone comes in and they don't want to be at BSS, they don't want to be here, we're probably not the right place for them, it's like, but we might probe that more of like, why is that? Like, is there a certain reason? Have they not discovered something? Like, that they might learn that they love, so we work with families or students through that. But I think mostly they really, and obviously there's an academic piece, like we are an academic school. So there is that's why we look at report cards and we have an assessment. But I think that they're often, they enjoy learning. I think there's that love of learning that comes through. Hillary, what would you, I don't know, like, because there's so many different things. And like I said before, we look at a wide variety of different types of students. So I don't think we don't have a checkbox of things that we want them to have. It's, we really do look at the whole picture, the whole application, plus the whole kind of class that we're bringing in too.
Right， 所以我们3个实际上是很难去界定啊。先回答一下第一个小的问题啊，这个8到12年级目前为止是70名这个在住校的住校生，然后但是这个稍微小一点的这个住校的 program 也有自己的好处，就是我们整个 community 是非常紧密相连的，每个人都认识彼此，所以就是实际上是在自己的家之外又找到了另外一个自己可以归属的地方。然后像刚才 Hillary 和 Suzanne 其实都有提到说，实际上在考察我们就是申请人的时候呢，是非常难去把我们在寻找的这种闪光点也好、亮点也好归结成简单的，比如说3个或者几个这种特定的像 boxes 一样的这些，因为实际上他们最看重的实际也是咱们申请人的品质啊，好学向学，然后在学术上有学术自己的考量。那么像之前其实很好的一个参考点呢，就是之前 BSS 给大家展示的这个 signature of BSS girls， 就是他们在寻找什么样特质的学生然后就是在这些方面实际上永远都是去看整个的框架，是一个整体的考量，而非仅仅是某一些方面单项上的这些，所以他们也非常数次的在咱们的这个 webinar 当中鼓励大家just be yourself， 就是成为真实的自己，展现真实的自己，然后只要是咱们对于自己就找到了比如说非常激情啊，或者说是你对于什么学术上也好啊，或者是课外活动也罢呀，你有一些长期坚持的东西，有一些自己找到了兴趣的方向，那么这些实际上都是很好的闪光点 right? I have another little question from the chat box. How many students will BSS recruit for grade 7 in 2024?
I'll take this one. I'm going to go through each grade because I think it's important for us we should have probably just said that. In grade 7, this year we took 30 new students into grade 7. It's usually sort of somewhere between 25 and 32 students into grade 7. In grade 9, for day students, I believe we took around the same, 30 students. And then in the boarding, we would take another 12 to 14 into grade 9. And then in JK, we're looking for up to 20 students. So typically around 18 to 20 students. Grade 1, we take in about 12 students because in our grade 1 class, we have then 2 classes of grade 1 that are capped at 15. So we like to keep those classes small. We think that's really important in those primary years. And then we keep that the same for grade 2 and 3. And then in 4, we can go up a little bit to 20. So sometimes if we feel the need, we can sort of take in a few kids there. And then grade 6, again, it's about 15 students. And I will add, it's competitive, right? It's, COVID really, we saw a big spike in our applicant pool during those 2 years, probably because of what was happening all over the world and online learning and really, families wanting to invest in their children's education. And then we thought it might kind of peter off or at least hold steady, but this year our applicant pool went up again. So I don't know if that's a trend that will continue, but it is competitive. We will say that, we're so lucky in Toronto. If you're looking at girls' schools in Toronto, there are 4 of us and we're all great schools. And so we know that families are looking at many schools to really figure out what's the best fit. And so when in grade 7, if for those 30 spots, we might have 130 to 140 applicants, but we know that families are looking at lots of different schools and making that choice as well. So the ratio seems big or off, but it ends up, people are finding the school that's right for them.
Great, yeah. 所以我简单讲一下，咱们7年级回答一下刚才家长朋友的问题啊。7年级2024年是25到32左右，那么9年级是在30名左右啊，然后 JK 的话呢是20名左右，然后Grade 1 1年级的话是12名，然后在2、3差不多都保持在这个程度，然后到4年级的时候会有这个微小的上升，在20名左右，然后6年级的话15名左右，那么7年级往后咱们刚才已经提到过。所以基本上就是保持这样的精品的小班，然后每个人都非常了解自己，也了解对方，那这也是咱们这个 BSS 一个非常引以为豪的地方。Okay， 然后 Right. There's another interesting question that I like to ask, and it's also coming from the prior collection that we have taken into consideration, which is from last year specifically for students and who have applied to BSS. Many have kind of given us the feedback that it seems like the competition was extremely high, and we're just curious to ask whether there was an increasingly more difficult decisions to be made for the last cycle that we've been through. And just 1 second for me to translate the question. 咱们过去有家长啊，一直以来其实都有家长和学生在问说，感觉去年的这个招生好像是特别的难啊，然后感觉特别难进，然后这个咱们就现在向这个 BSS 求证一下，这个是否是事实啊，是不是难了？然后我们这个录取率啊，包括咱们自身想要更好的去准备自己的话，需要去做什么 ？All right.
Yeah, I would. Oh, sorry, Suzanne, do you want to go?
No. Go ahead.
I would say, yes, this year was the most difficult we've had. And that is based on numbers, because when you have so many great applicants and only so many spots to offer, it becomes very, very difficult. And we, our decision meetings were probably longer and more fulsome than when they ever have been. And unfortunately, some people who would have been great candidates another year did not get an offer, and maybe were placed on our wait list because of the sheer number and volume of great applicants, which is, a good place to be in as a school, but not a great place to be in as an applicant. And as I said, I don't know if that trend's going to continue. And, because of our campus size, we extend the offers to more people, because we have to be mindful of our class size, which is one of our benefits, to have those smaller class sizes. As I said before, JK is the hardest when you get that many applicants at 3 years old to try to make decisions. But we have to use our application and feel confident in our interviews and our assessments, and looking at report cards and meeting with families and really trying to find the alignment there on all of those things. It really is a holistic approach, but it is very, very difficult.
Right. Totally. Yeah. And just like a little follow-up question on that. So what did we kind of observe from the successful candidates from last year? Like, do they share something in common? Is it their extracurriculars, or is there kind of attributes that they're showing? Is it because that they're taking in maybe some leadership roles, or they're showing some initiative in community service, etc.? So what seems to be the successful piece that we're looking for? Then we are able to make the decision to say, okay, this is right, the one, or instead, right, well, when we say that some of the great ones, and this is actually kind of tie into the other question that we have, which is the kid seems great, but the report card seems great. Their kind of test scores, if you want to submit that, it also looks great. It looks very competitive kid, but why did they get declined? And why didn't they get in? Well, we get the questions all the time, and we're curious to ask that too. And I'm just gonna kind of do that briefly with our parents too. 所以这个去年的竞争啊是非常激烈，尤其是在咱们这个能够招进来的学生的数量实际上是固定的情况之下，这个选择就会变得更艰难一些。然后尤其是像这个就是在评估方面呢，这一块实际上也是咱们 BSS 在去年一整年在这个招生季当中，也是经过了数轮的讨论，然后去做了一些其实蛮艰难的决定啊。然后我们接下来有一个小的问题，就是如果说这个孩子看起来就是各方面都比较好， 都比较有竞争力，但是为什么可能没有进到梦校呢？这个原因是什么？这个我们就请 Suzanne or Hillary, either one of you could answer that question for us, please.
We get this question a lot too, Suzanne, especially after offer day, all the families who were placed on our wait list. It's really difficult. But all those things you listed, I would say yes to all of the above, right? These are the things that we discuss. It really, it's like a puzzle, right? We have students who do very, very well in our assessment and have strong report cards. And when we look at their overall profile, we might be looking for, as Suzanne said, to put a cohort together, and we don't necessarily want all either shy or quiet or piano players or hockey players, or we really do want a really diverse group of kids who bring a plethora of things and interests to the table. And so that is hard to kind of stomach if you're a strong candidate across other areas. But again, it goes back to the interview, I think, is their time to shine and tell us who they are. And I'm talking more grade 7 and 9 here, where they are a little bit older to be able to share their personality and things that they'd want to get involved in. I mean, it goes back to college, except I'm not comparing us to a main university, but it's similar. Like it's starting to be a numbers game, which can be discouraging, and we don't want families to not apply to us. But my biggest piece of advice is to parents, because this is what breaks my heart after offer day, when people call and say, well, we only applied to BSS. We thought BSS was our #1 school, which is lovely to hear, but we didn't apply anywhere else. And now we don't know where she can go. Right. And so I really do urge parents to do your research and look at a few schools. Maybe have a couple that are your top tier and a backup school. If, public schools are great too, but if you've decided as a family that independent schools is where you want them to be, then you need to do your research and have a few options, because it really does break my heart when students don't get in anywhere because they didn't apply to enough schools. And I would say the same thing to our grads applying to colleges, right? You have your dream school and your maybe 2 others, and then a little bit of a backup, and then your safety. So that's just a piece of advice. Of course, we love when people love BSS, but it's really hard. It's really hard. And we are an academic school, and that's why the assessment and report cards are really important. But it's sort of those other things. So yes, leadership opportunities. During COVID, co-curriculars were non-existent, so kids were not having flute lessons and playing soccer and joining Lego robotics at their school. So we did see sort of a drop off there, and it was harder to judge those levels of engagement in programs that they were having at their school or outside of school. But signing up your kid into 20 different activities is also not a guarantee, right? It comes down to personality as well, and the love of learning and things like that. It's sort of the intangible. I don't know, Suzanne, do you want to add anything?
You summed it up. If we could give it more offers, we would. I know. Yeah.
Right. Okay. I'll just kind of briefly translate that. It's totally like whenever the kind of the admission cycles, we understand the competition is always very high. So appreciate all that. I think it makes a lot of sense, and then a great advice for the parents too. Really appreciate that. 所以对于家长朋友们来讲，这个在就是咱们位置啊各方面有限的情况之下，实际上 BSS 也数次其实强调了，他们看的是每个人的这个整体的水平，或者说每个人整体展现出来的是一个什么样的面貌，所以个人对于自己的定位啊，在这个方面一定是要非常清晰的。比如说刚才 Hillary 啊曾经这个就是提到的说，可能我想有特别多的课外活动，当然我一口气报20个，那么这个在学校方来看，就是是否有一个是或者有几个是你真的比如说有非常多的投入，然后有一定的成果，就是我们要找准一个可能表达自我或者说是展现自己的一个明确的方向，而不是我这个也想做那个也想做。那么虽然说 BSS 想要它的这个 classroom 里面 full of diversity 非常多元的然后有很多来自各种 可能背景的这些孩子们，但是以自己在我们前期准备也好，做 research 也罢，一定要找到一个自己适合的定位，这个实际上是非常重要的，对于以后的成长也是有非常这个深远的影响。是，所以在课外的活动啊，学校的表现呢，然后这个可能 community 社区的一些建设呀，或者说是对于可能文化交融方面的一些表达等等，这些实际上都是 BSS 在纳入考量的部分。There's an interesting question of international exchange program. I know that we kind of touched on it very briefly from the previous slide, and the parent is asking, is there or any international exchange program? Maybe just a little bit more details on that. 咱们现在来问一下这个 international exchange program 听一下咱们这个 BSS 有哪一些 offer。
Yeah, absolutely. And this is part of our global learning program, which I had mentioned that's really growing. Next year, I actually have a list on my board. So this year we did an exchange with Australia, and we're going to continue that. So there will be another exchange with Australia, a short exchange to Japan. And then I think they're also looking for France, trying to get a France and Belgium exchange going. So this is an opportunity for students to study abroad for a period of time. I think last year, for example, the Australia exchange was about 3 weeks long, and then they come with, or I think their exchange partners came here first. Now, or am I getting that backwards? Anyway, but at some point in time, the exchange partners are coming here to study at BSS along with their partner, and then our students go abroad and study there, and it really kind of they dive right into the culture, education, and connecting with a whole new group of people and families, as well as they would be staying with another family too. If it's a language exchange, they're strengthening, for example, France, they're strengthening those language skills too, which are really, which is a real asset, of course. So, and
sounds pretty exciting.
Yeah, the students love it. They've sang praises to the program.
Right. 我们就是目前啊，像去年呀、今年呀，一些欧洲的交换，比如说法国、比利时啊、日本啊，然后澳洲啊，2、3周的样子，然后孩子们可以这个融入当地的文化，提升自己的这个语言水平，然后开拓眼界，可能对于他以后本科想要往哪个国家或者什么地区去发展，也会有一个比较好的这种引导作用。然后接下来实际上我们还想问一个问题，就是这个如果说我今年或者说我之前申请了 BSS， 然后呢非常遗憾我没有被录取，那么如果我还想再一次挑战的话，这个我们来问一下校方有没有什么样的建议。Right, so there's one more question that many parents and students are interested in, which is I know that we kind of talked about it before. It was heartbreaking, and when the students kind of only applied to BSS and didn't get in. But it's there. Like we've actually seen and observed the trend for people who previously got declined, but they're really passionate about the school and they decide to, just take up the challenge again. Is there any practical suggestions for them? How do they present themselves, or are there anything for kind of reappliers? How does BSS assess them?
I think, sometimes families will reach out, they may connect, and if there is any area of improvement, so if there is a concrete piece, like for example, their writing assessment or something, maybe we can provide some of that information, and that could be something that they can work on. And for those students who seem that are great and they just didn't get the spot, and sometimes that's when they reapply. Sometimes we're looking for something different in our whole class and everything, right? So sometimes we'll look at the next cohort coming in, and we're like, oh, okay. And obviously if they reapply, they're extremely interested in us and everything. And I've certainly seen it. I've been here for a number of years, so I've certainly seen it when a student reapplies. I've seen it when they suddenly get an offer that next year. I've also seen it where they may not as well. Again, it kind of goes back to what we're looking for as a whole. But it certainly doesn't hurt to reapply, and if there is ever any piece or element where we feel that this isn't maybe the right place or something for whatever reason, we can have that conversation, certainly, but often it's just a matter of what we're looking for in our cohort at the time and such. So, but yeah, always happy to have the conversation.
所以咱们这个就是想要再一次去申请 BSS 的家长朋友们，尤其是在咱们学生准备的时候啊，其实很重要的一点就是展现出一些一致性同时呢展现出自己成长了的部分。咱们这可能过了1年，然后有哪一些板块上面产生了可能不一样的火花，或者说展现咱们自己的成长路径，提供更多的可能更多元的一些闪光点，然后再结合可能 BSS 在那一个年度他们在寻找什么样特质的学生这一块，它总是一个综合的这种考量。所以他们非常鼓励咱们这个曾经申请过 BSS 的学生再一次去挑战，然后也欢迎大家和 BSS 招生部有一个更多的交流，来问一问可能是什么方面，或者说我们接下来应该如何再去准备好自己所以这个 conversations are always welcome， 所以大家可以多多的 reach out， 然后呢多多的做 research同时呢这个准备好自身做好自己的 research， 然后要有一个明确的这种，不管是我自己发展的方向也好，还是我想要找到的学校是什么样子的，我想在什么地方可能度过我接下来的4年高中期或者是这个打好一个基础这些实际上都是非常长远性的考量。所以这些也是我觉得很好的建议给到家长朋友们。All right, so
can I add something to that? Like
sure.
I think Suzanne sort of touched on this, is that yes, we would have those conversations, and she kind of gave the example of their writing or their math or something that they could work on to improve and we have seen students reapply, and typically sometimes it's just a non-entry year and we don't have spots, and then they'll reapply for an entry year. Or maybe it's their language. So we are dealing, in a city where immigration is at a all-time high. We have families who come and their child's English is just not at the level that we need it to be, whether it's writing, and we know they're a really bright kid. We're looking at their report cards in their country or city where they were before. And so we'll say that, like, just go and because we don't offer an English as a second language program, and some schools do, and so we would encourage them to have a year. Sometimes it only takes a year to really just get there, and then they reapply and we're like, oh my gosh, this is, we really see the trajectory and we see the improvement. And the same thing for whether it's math or language, and that's hard on the kid to go through the process when they don't have the skills yet, because they may be really new. And we really encourage people, if somebody gets a waitlist letter, especially, it means a waitlist letter means to us that you were a great candidate. You were just on that cusp. You just didn't make it this time. If you get a decline letter, then there's more concern somewhere. So we're happy to have conversations with both. We kind of let the dust settle, but at March and April, we do have those conversations where we say, you know what, she was a great candidate in this, or her interview was just not as strong as some of the other pieces. And it's sometimes hard to hear, but if parents are open to it, it really can help them. We also can make recommendations at that point too, to say, here's a smaller school where she could really get the attention she needs in this and this area. And then, we receive great applications in grade 9 from those schools. So it could be really helpful. There are a lot of smaller private schools that may or may not be as well known, because I think families often look at the big 4 or 5 that are well known. But we get great applicants from schools like Montcrest, Kingsway College, trying to think of another one off the top of my head, Jackman Institute of Child Study at U of T. There are great, what we call feeder schools, to really get settled in, and so we often recommend those schools for families who are looking, because right now we're getting tons of calls from families looking, and we're already full for next year. So I'll say, have you tried this school? Have you tried this school? Kingsway College just opened a senior school, so they have spots, and so we work closely with those schools where, yes, we're competitors for sure, but we also really want families to find a good place for their student to learn.
对，我们就刚才 Hillary 其实提到的这个，有的时候可能收到这个 waitlist letter，实际上也是一个很大的肯定了，因为 waitlist letter 实际上就是 非常大程度的已经认可了咱们学生大部分的资质，那么可能就是小小的部分，比如说可能语言上啊的积累啊，比如说来这儿的时间还比较短呢，所以呢其实咱们大招官的这个建议就是还是要磨练自身，还是要累积自己，然后能够更从容的，或者说是准备的更游刃有余的来去应对咱们的这个 admissions。然后如果说因为他们不管你是收到了 waitlist letter 还是收到了这个 decline letter， 实际上咱们都可以和校方有一个更近距离的交流然后来咨询一下整个板块啊、流程啊，哪个方面啊我们还可以努力啊，而且这个最重要的实际上还是要找到适合自己的学校，所以咱们前期的这个 research 实际上确实是必不可少的，这些都是非常宝贵、非常实用的经验，尤其是咱们新一年的这个招生季，其实2个月之后差不多就要开始了，所以在接下来的2个月，大家也都可以开始着手的去准备，咱们有这个需求的家长朋友们，对，这些都是非常好的意见。Great, thank you so much, Suzanne and Hillary. And well, for the parents, if you do have any other questions, please don't hesitate. I think, well, it's wonderful opportunity for all of us to kind of gather here. And thank you both so much. It's such a privilege and an honor to have you both here. Thank you.
Thank you. We
guys so
appreciate
much.
the opportunity. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, so the great question about reaching out. So you can reach out to our student recruiting office. The website has the email to our main student recruiting email, and then one of our associates will reach back out to you. And starting late September, we'll be doing tours of our campus, and we really encourage you to come visit the school at one of our events. They'll be on our website soon. And if you're out of town and you're in here just for the summer, we will be doing tours Tuesdays and Wednesdays. But if you do live close, I would wait till the fall because you'll see the school in action. The summer is a very quiet and kind of a lot of projects going on. So it's not the best time, but if you're only here in the summer, then we'll help you out. But thank you so much. We really appreciate it.